I'm Maya, 28 years old, and I'm sitting on the expansive porch of my adoptive family's luxurious summer house in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. The sun is setting over the ocean, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a stark contrast to the gray feeling in my stomach. This annual family vacation is always a beautiful facade. Everything here screams old money and established lineage, from the manicured lawns to the vintage sailboats docked in the harbor. My adoptive parents, bless their hearts, always insist I join, but I've learned that my presence often serves as a subtle reminder of what I'm not. I'm not blood. The snickering usually starts subtly, hushed tones, and knowing glances shared across the grand dining table. It's never overt, never a direct insult, but it's always there, a constant undercurrent of judgment about my adopted status. They see me as an outsider, a charity case, perhaps. Just yesterday, Aunt Carol, with her perfectly coiffed silver hair, remarked, "It's just so different having someone from, well, outside the family join our traditions." Her smile was polite, but her eyes held a distinct chill. I simply nodded, accustomed to these veiled comments. Uncle Robert, my adoptive father's brother, often offers a patronizing smile, patting my shoulder as if I'm a child. He'll ask about my little projects, dismissing my career as something quaint and unimportant compared to their vast business empires. It's always a subtle slight. My cousin Emily, who is only a year older than me, is the worst. I often overhear her whispering to her sisters about my background, speculating about my biological parents and making assumptions about my capabilities. She thinks I don't notice, but I hear every word. This family prides itself on its long history, its contributions to society, and its rigid traditions. They believe their success is solely due to their inherited intellect and connections, overlooking the immense privilege that paved their way. I am a living anomaly in their carefully constructed world. My adoptive parents, while loving and supportive in their own way, are often oblivious to these microaggressions. They genuinely believe they've given me everything, and they struggle to understand why I might still feel like an outsider in their opulent world. They see no prejudice. The feeling of being an outsider has been a constant companion throughout my life, a shadow even in the brightest rooms. It's a quiet ache, a reminder that no matter how hard I try, I will never truly belong to their exclusive club, at least not in their eyes. The beautiful scenery of Martha's Vineyard, with its charming lighthouses and pristine beaches, feels like a stark contrast to the internal tension that permeates every family gathering. It's a gilded cage, beautiful on the outside, but suffocating within its confines. I've learned to observe quietly, to listen to their conversations, and to understand the unspoken rules of their world. This quiet observation has been my superpower, allowing me to gather information and prepare for a moment I knew would eventually come. The weight of their low expectations has always been a strange motivator for me. Instead of crushing me, it fueled a quiet determination to prove them wrong, not for their validation, but for my own sense of self-worth and purpose. I wouldn't be defined by their narrow views. This year, as I packed my bags for Martha's Vineyard, I felt a different kind of energy, a sense of purpose, a quiet resolve. This vacation wouldn't just be another exercise in enduring their snickers, it would be a turning point, a revelation. I took a deep breath, the salty air filling my lungs. The time for quiet observation was coming to an end. The time for action, for truth, was drawing near. I could feel it in my bones. My journey began almost 28 years ago when I was adopted at birth by the Grants, a kind but somewhat naive couple who genuinely believed love was all that mattered. They provided a stable, comfortable home, but they couldn't shield me from the world's complexities. From a young age, I encountered subtle prejudice, not just from extended family, but also at school and in social settings. Remarks like, "You're so articulate for someone from your background," were common, always implying surprise at my capabilities. My adoptive family's othering was a constant refrain, often disguised as compliments. "You have such a unique perspective, Maya, not like us," they'd say, inadvertently highlighting my difference rather than embracing my individuality. It was a subtle but persistent reminder. My parents, in their honest attempts to protect me, often failed to see the depth of the issue. They dismiss comments as just old-fashioned thinking or a misunderstanding, never fully grasping the insidious nature of systemic prejudice. Their blindness was frustrating. But these experiences, rather than breaking me, forged a thick skin and a resilient spirit. I learned to navigate their world, to smile politely while internally challenging their assumptions, and to find strength in my own identity. I wouldn't let their biases define me. I began to embrace my heritage, researching my biological roots and connecting with communities that shared my cultural background. This exploration became a profound source of strength, grounding me in a history far richer and more complex than my adoptive family understood. The power of knowledge became my quiet strength. I devoured books on social justice, history, and systemic inequality, understanding the broader context of the microaggressions I faced. This intellectual pursuit armed me with insights they lacked. Despite their low expectations, I excelled academically, driven by an internal fire, not their approval. I pursued a degree in social policy, focusing on community development and equitable access, a path they deemed noble but impractical. Their dismissiveness only solidified my resolve. I chose a path dedicated to social justice and impact, recognizing that my unique perspective as an adopted woman of color gave me a powerful voice. I wanted to build something real, something that would dismantle the very prejudices I had experienced. This led to my secret project, something I poured my heart and soul into for years, working tirelessly behind the scenes. It was a venture born out of necessity and a deep desire to create tangible change in the world. It was my true calling. I worked in silence, building my own empire, unseen and unacknowledged by my family. Every late night, every challenge overcome, was a testament to my resilience and my commitment to a vision far grander than their narrow world of inherited wealth. The drive for change was fueled by years of subtle dismissal, the constant feeling of being underestimated. I wanted to show, not just them, but anyone facing similar biases, that worth is not determined by bloodline or privilege, but by purpose and action. The contrast between their world of conspicuous consumption and my world of quiet, impactful purpose became increasingly clear. While they focused on maintaining an image, I focused on making a difference, one step at a time. Returning to Martha's Vineyard this year, I felt a quiet confidence. The time had come to challenge their perceptions, not with anger, but with the undeniable truth of what I had built. I was ready to show them the real Maya. Back at the Martha's Vineyard estate, the evening's dinner party was in full swing, a formal affair complete with crystal chandeliers and hushed conversations. I wore a dress I loved, feeling confident, though I knew it wouldn't change their preconceived notions. The conversations revolve around legacy, their family's long list of achievements, their ancestors' contributions to industry and philanthropy. Each story was a subtle reminder of the lineage I supposedly lacked, the history I wasn't a part of. Then came the inevitable, dismissive questions, usually from Uncle Robert. "What do you do again, Maya?" Something with community, wasn't it? His tone implied it was a hobby, not a serious career. I offered vague answers, protecting my secret. I enjoyed their assumptions, letting them believe I was simply dabbling in some minor, feel-good work. It allowed me to observe their reactions, to see how deeply ingrained their biases were, and to prepare for the moment of truth. Uncle Robert, ever the patriarch, launched into a lecture about proper societal contributions, emphasizing the importance of wealth and influence. He spoke as if his path was the only valid one, completely oblivious to the irony of his words. Aunt Carol, ever the traditionalist, leaned in conspiratorially. "You should really settle down, dear," she advised. "Find a nice, respectable husband. That's where a woman's true contribution lies." Her words stung, but I kept my composure. The implicit message was clear. My life path, my ambitions, my very identity weren't enough in their eyes. I was a woman who needed to be guided, to be shaped into something more acceptable, something more like them. The snickers were almost imperceptible when I did speak, a slight upturn of a lip, a quick glance exchanged between cousins. As if my opinions were quaint, my insights charmingly naive, but ultimately irrelevant to their grand discussions. Grandma Eleanor, the family matriarch, sat at the head of the table, observing silently. Her eyes, sharp and knowing, seemed to miss nothing, yet she rarely intervened, a silent enabler of the family's subtle prejudices. I wondered what she truly thought. My parents, seated nearby, shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension but unable to effectively intervene. They would later apologize for their family's behavior, but in the moment, their silence felt like a quiet complicity. I often felt like an exhibit, a curiosity to be examined and discussed, rather than a peer to be respected. My presence was tolerated, but never truly embraced, always with an asterisk next to my name, the adopted one. The beautiful table setting, with its gleaming silver and delicate china, felt like a cruel irony, hiding the ugliness of their unspoken words and the casual cruelty of their prejudice. It was a perfect facade for an imperfect reality. A moment of quiet resolve settled over me. The time was drawing near, the perfect opportunity to shatter their illusions and reveal the truth of who I was and what I had achieved, not despite my background, but often because of it. Their ignorance was a shield for their prejudice, allowing them to remain comfortably in their bubble of superiority. But that shield was about to be pierced, not by anger, but by the undeniable force of my reality. My confidence grew with each passing minute. I was ready to stand tall, to speak my truth, and to show them that true legacy is built, not merely inherited. The air in the room felt charged with an impending shift. This quiet morning, as the Martha's Vineyard house slowly stirred to life, I reflected on the genesis of my project, the Bridge Initiative. It was born years ago, a direct response to the systemic issues of inequality and discrimination I had personally experienced. I envisioned an organization that would bridge divides, empower marginalized communities, and provide resources to those often overlooked by traditional philanthropy. It was a dream fueled by a deep sense of purpose and a desire for real change. The journey was long and arduous, marked by years of relentless hard work, countless late nights, and significant personal sacrifices. I poured every ounce of my energy and savings into building it from the ground up, brick by painstaking brick. I meticulously built a diverse and passionate team, individuals who shared my vision and commitment to social justice. We were a lean but mighty force, united by a common goal, to make a tangible difference in the lives of others. Our mission was clear: to empower marginalized communities through education, advocacy, and economic opportunities. We focused on sustainable solutions, not just temporary fixes, aiming for long-term impact and systemic change. Funding was a constant challenge. I faced skepticism and resistance from established institutions, but I persevered, proving our impact with measurable results and unwavering dedication. Each small victory fueled our determination to grow. The Bridge Initiative grew steadily, from a small idea conceived in my apartment to a nationally recognized organization with a significant presence. We were making waves, quietly transforming lives across the country. We received awards and accolades, but I kept them strictly private, never publicizing them to my adoptive family. It was important for me to build this on my own terms, without their interference or their premature judgment. My mentor, a formidable woman who had overcome her own battles with discrimination, was a constant guiding force. She believed in my vision when others doubted, offering invaluable advice and unwavering support. She was my anchor. The irony was not lost on me. My family, so focused on their own world of privilege, remained utterly blind to the significant work I was doing. They often talked about charity and giving back, yet they missed the true impact happening right under their noses. My strategic silence was deliberate, allowing them to underestimate me, to continue their snickering. It gave me the space to build something truly authentic, unburdened by their expectations or their need to control. The weight of the secret was both a burden and a powerful tool. It was heavy, yes, but it also gave me an undeniable advantage, a hidden strength that they could never anticipate. It was my ace in the hole. The feeling of impending change hung in the air, thick with anticipation. I knew this vacation would be different, that the truth I held would finally shatter their comfortable illusions and force them to see me for who I truly was. I took a deep breath, the salty air filling my lungs, a final resolve settling within me. I was ready. The stage was set, and the curtain was about to rise on a revelation they would never forget. The breaking point arrived during a seemingly casual family gathering by the pool, a relaxed afternoon that quickly turned sour. The sun was high, the water sparkled, but the atmosphere grew heavy with unspoken tensions. Cousin Emily, emboldened by a few too many mimosas, approached me with a smirk. "It's a shame, Maya," she drawled, "that you don't have a real family legacy to uphold. All that effort, and nothing to truly inherit." Her words, delivered with a condescending giggle, cut deeper than usual. The laughter that followed, a collective dismissal from my other cousins, felt like a physical blow, echoing the years of subtle slights. It was the final straw. My adoptive parents, seated nearby, exchanged pained expressions, their usual attempts to interject failing. They looked helpless, unable to defend me effectively against the casual cruelty of their own family. Their silence felt loud. In that moment, I felt utterly invisible, despite my physical presence in the center of their opulent world. They saw a placeholder, a temporary guest, not a capable, impactful woman who had built something extraordinary. A quiet, simmering anger rose within me, not a desire for revenge, but a fierce resolve for truth and recognition. This wasn't about proving them wrong for my ego, it was about asserting my inherent worth and challenging their ingrained biases. The decision was made in that instant. This was the moment. This cutting remark, this collective snicker, was the catalyst I needed. The time for quiet endurance was over. The time for revelation had arrived. I stood up slowly, deliberately, drawing everyone's attention. The laughter died down, replaced by a sudden, expectant silence as they sensed a shift in my demeanor. All eyes were now on me, a rare occurrence. My voice, when I spoke, was calm and clear, cutting through the Martha's Vineyard air like a sharp blade. "You've all spoken a great deal about legacy," I began, my gaze sweeping across their faces, "and what it means to inherit something." Their initial confusion was palpable, their faces a mixture of surprise and mild annoyance. They were unprepared for my assertiveness, for the sudden shift in the power dynamic. They expected me to shrink, not to stand taller. I took a deep breath, a final resolve settling within me. There was no turning back now. The years of quiet endurance, the weight of their prejudice, all fueled the words that were about to come. But what about a legacy that is built, not merely inherited? I continued, my voice gaining strength. A legacy forged through purpose, through impact, through challenging the very notions of what is considered enough. Their smugness, once so evident, began to crack, replaced by a flicker of doubt, a hint of unease. They were starting to realize that this was more than just a polite conversation. It was a confrontation. The beginning of the revelation hung in the air, a quiet, powerful statement that promised to dismantle their comfortable world of assumptions. The stage was set for an unveiling they would never forget. My voice remained calm, cutting through the stunned silence that had fallen over the family gathering. "You've often spoken about legacy," I reiterated, my gaze fixed on Uncle Robert, and the importance of what one leaves behind. Their puzzled looks deepened, wondering where this unexpected turn was leading. They exchanged nervous glances, clearly uncomfortable with my directness, so unlike my usual quiet demeanor. They were on edge. "My legacy isn't inherited, however," I stated, my voice clear and resonant. "It's being built, brick by painstaking brick, through years of dedication and a commitment to creating real change in the world." Then, I spoke the name that would shatter their complacency. "It's called the Bridge Initiative." That. A ripple went through the group. The name was familiar to them, a prominent social enterprise they had recently discussed. Grandma Eleanor, who had been silently observing, let out a soft gasp, her eyes widening as she connected the dots. She was the first to truly grasp the significance of what I was saying. Her composure faltered. Uncle Robert's face contorted in disbelief. "You're the Maya," he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "The Maya from the Bridge Initiative? But that's impossible. We've been trying to get a meeting with their founder for months." I calmly listed some of the Bridge Initiative's key achievements, projects they had publicly praised and even sought to align with. The realization dawned on their faces, a mixture of shock, awe, and profound embarrassment. The organization's recent national campaign, its impact on educational equity, its partnerships with major corporations, all things they had discussed with admiration, completely unaware that I was the driving force behind it all. Their faces were a tableau of emotions: shock at the revelation, awe at the scale of my achievement, and deep, undeniable embarrassment at their past dismissals. The snickers had vanished, replaced by gaping mouths. Aunt Carol, usually so composed, whispered, I am so sorry, dear." It was a rare moment of genuine humility from her, a crack in her polished facade. The weight of her past comments seemed to crush her. The weight of their past snickers, their patronizing smiles, their dismissive remarks, all of it now came crashing down upon them. The irony was so profound, so absolute, that it left them speechless. I stood there, quietly dignified, allowing the truth to sink in. My presence, once snickered at, now commanded their full, undivided attention and respect. The silence in the room was heavy with their reckoning. The true meaning of legacy was redefined in that moment, not by birthright or inherited wealth, but by action, by purpose, by the tangible impact of one's work. It was a powerful, undeniable truth. The shift in power was subtle yet undeniable. I wasn't just Maya, the adopted girl. I was Maya, the founder of the Bridge Initiative, a force to be reckoned with, a leader they had completely overlooked. It was a quiet triumph, not over them, but for myself, for every person who had ever been underestimated or dismissed. The unveiling was complete, and their world would never be the same. The immediate silence that followed my revelation was heavy, thick with unspoken words and stunned disbelief. It felt like an eternity, broken only by the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. Then, Grandma Eleanor, usually so reserved, was the first to move. She walked towards me, her eyes filled with a mixture of pride and regret, and enveloped me in a rare, genuine hug. It was a silent apology, deeply felt. My adoptive parents, their faces beaming with a mixture of pride and relief, finally understood the depth of my work and the quiet strength I had always possessed. Their eyes conveyed an apology for their own blindness. The awkward apologies began to trickle in from the others, some sincere, some clearly forced and uncomfortable. Cousin Emily mumbled something about not knowing, her usual smirk replaced by a look of genuine awe. Uncle Robert, ever the one to save face, cleared his throat. "We always knew you were capable, Maya," he declared, trying to regain some semblance of authority. His words rang hollow, but I simply offered a small, knowing smile. My response was calm and factual, not accusatory. "I simply chose to build my path quietly," I stated, without the need for external validation or the constraints of preconceived notions. It was a statement of self-possession. The shift in family dynamics was palpable. Respect replaced dismissal, curiosity replaced condescension. They no longer saw me as a charity case, but as a formidable leader, a woman of substance and impact. Cousin Emily, surprisingly, approached me later that day, her usual snark replaced by quiet admiration. I really had no idea," she admitted, a grudging acceptance in her tone. It was a small but significant victory. Discussions about my work, once dismissed as little projects, now took center stage, filled with genuine interest and questions about the Bridge Initiative's future plans. They sought my opinions, my insights, my expertise. The realization hit them hard. They had misjudged me entirely, allowing their biases about adoption and background to blind them to my true capabilities. Their world, once so rigidly defined, was now being challenged. The weight I had carried for years, the burden of secrecy and the sting of their prejudice, lifted from my shoulders. It was a profound sense of liberation, a freedom that tasted sweeter than any inherited wealth. The Martha's Vineyard house, once a symbol of their exclusivity and my otherness, now felt different. It was still their house, but my presence within it had shifted, demanding a new kind of respect. This was a new beginning, not just for me, but for my relationship with my family. It wouldn't be perfect, but it was a start, a chance to build connections based on truth and mutual respect. The power of truth had unveiled not only my achievements but also their hidden biases, forcing them to confront their own prejudices. It was a reckoning, quiet but profound, that reshaped their perceptions. It was a quiet victory, not over them, but for myself, for my journey, and for the undeniable truth that worth is inherent, not granted by lineage or social standing. I had finally claimed my rightful place. The remaining days of the Martha's Vineyard vacation were marked by a new, tentative respect. The snickering was gone, replaced by genuine conversations and a newfound curiosity about my work and my life. My work with the Bridge Initiative continued with renewed energy and purpose. The revelation had not only validated my efforts but also opened new doors for partnerships and expanded our reach, amplifying our impact. The family support, though unexpected, was now a welcome addition. Uncle Robert, surprisingly, offered to connect me with potential donors, and Aunt Carol even volunteered to help with a charity gala. It was a surprising turn. I began accepting more speaking engagements, sharing my story of resilience and empowerment with wider audiences. My journey, from being snickered at to being revered, became a powerful testament to overcoming prejudice. The foundation of the Bridge Initiative grew stronger than ever, its mission resonating deeply with people from all walks of life. We continued to bridge divides, creating a more equitable and inclusive world, one project at a time. My definition of family expanded beyond blood, now encompassing those who accepted and valued me for who I truly was, accomplishments and flaws alike. Acceptance, not genetics, define my true connections. The lessons learned from years of subtle discrimination were invaluable. They taught me about the insidious nature of prejudice, the power of resilience, and the unwavering importance of self-worth. The power of my voice, once silenced by their assumptions, was now amplified, carrying a message of hope and empowerment. I no longer felt the need to shrink. I stood tall, confident in my identity. My journey had taken me from being an uninvited guest to a recognized leader, from being snickered at to being held in awe. The Martha's Vineyard house, once a place of quiet suffering, had become a symbol of transformation. To anyone watching this, facing your own crossroads of rejection or underestimation, remember this. Find your voice, tell your story, and never let anyone else define your worth or your potential. Embrace your full identity, whatever your background. Whether adopted, or from a different culture, or simply an outsider in someone else's eyes, your unique perspective is your greatest strength. The future stretched before me, bright, limitless, and authentically mine. Every decision, every path I chose, reflected my values and my unwavering commitment to a more just and equitable world. The true meaning of awe wasn't just surprise at my achievements, but a profound respect for the journey I had undertaken, the obstacles I had overcome, and the impact I was making. It was a validation of my entire being. Your worth is inherent, not granted by someone else's perception. It is built from within, through your actions, your purpose, and your unwavering belief in yourself. Never forget that. Thank you for listening to my journey.